Welcome to the YouTube channel of Ghanada Audio Stories. Ghanada is a unique character created by the eminent Bengali writer Premendra Mitra during 1940s through 1980s. Ghanada is a tall, thin man with bony features. His age could be anything between 35 and 55. Apparently, he is just a fibstar, a braggart. It is impossible to guess how he earns his living. He continues his habit of smoking without buying a single cigarette. It is natural to think all his fibs are nothing but some lies. A mountain of lies. But the fun bit is, all these so-called tall tales are full of 100% accurate geographical, scientific, political and social facts. Here comes today's story. If you like it, please subscribe to our channel.
Translated by Amlan Dasgupta. Has Ghanada returned? But before returning, one needs to leave first. So, if he is back now, when did he leave? After settling in this house, 72 Banamali Naskar Lane, he left the place only once. During that Bapi Dotto incident. I hope I don't need to remind you who this Bapi Dotto is. He is the person who pissed us off by feeding us duck meat for days in a row. In an expectation to become super rich, he was on a mission to find out Ghanada's snuff box containing the address of the geographic location of a reservoir of heavy water, as he believed this reservoir would lead him to a vast pool of assets. To accomplish his mission, he continued sacrificing ducks for days and finally found a tiny box in the stomach of a duck. At first, all of us were stunned. Bapi Dotto was overjoyed, and then he almost dragged Ghanada out to show him the opening ceremony of the box. After opening the box, Ghanada didn't wait to see Bapi Dotto's reaction. As soon as Gaur or maybe Shishir read aloud the note inside the box, Ghanada disappeared. He didn't return for days, weeks and months. In the evening, Bapi Dotto too left the boarding house forever. What was written on that sheet of paper found inside the deadly snuff box? Only 2 words were written. Ghanada's fib. Although Bapi Dotto never returned after that incident, Ghanada did, suddenly and quite unexpectedly. He returned in the story of the brother, whom we have met only once in this entire series of Ghanada. The brother was making fun of Ghanada in his absence, and Ghanada returned as an answer to that. The return was dramatic, and the leaving had a prelude and a warning sign, no matter how insignificant that was. The expectation of finding out a snuff box that contains the address of a vast pool of assets inside the stomach of a duck may sound totally unreasonable, but still there was a sense of curiosity to see how this expectation falls apart. But this time it was a bolt from the blue. After having an elaborate meal for our holiday lunch, we had gone to our respective rooms to take some rest and get prepared for our evening chat session. Then, while going downstairs, we had even seen Ghanada having a great time, and before going to his top floor room, he had modified the dinner menu, just like a proofreader, altering every comma and semicolons. Then, in the evening, he had just disappeared. And we got to know about his disappearance in a totally unexpected way. We had come to the pan shop located at the crossroad to buy some flavored pan for Ghanada, as it is his latest addiction. The shop has a signboard written in Bengali, Hindi as well as English, and its aroma reaches all the corners of the locality. We heard the news on the radio announcement while waiting in the shop. Usually, while on the streets, the radio presentations do not reach our ears and they get lost in all the clamours of the city. But we heard this one, and it pierced through our eardrums and made a direct passage to our hearts. It was an announcement bulletin about the missing persons. The language was English. Hearing the mention of 72 Banamali Naskar Lane, we were startled. Then Hearing the details, we were not only dumbfounded, but also froze right there. We found it difficult to trust our ears. What the hell did the announcement just say? Mr. Ghanasham Das, a well-known personality among both the youngsters and the older folks, has disappeared from his residence at 72 Banamali Naskar Lane. Disappeared? Ghanasham Das? That means our Ghanada. What gibberish was this? While we asked ourselves these questions, the announcement ends by mentioning the address of 72 Banamali Naskar Lane as the contact point if anyone finds the disappeared person. No, we were not dreaming. We were indeed present at the famous pawn shop on the crossroad. The streets were flooded with trams, buses, trucks, cars, rickshaws and people. But Ghanasham Das, who is famous as Ghanada, known to both the young and the older people, has just disappeared. And we get the news from a radio announcement. We rushed towards the boarding house while trying to remember when and where we had seen him the last time. Yes, indeed, we haven't seen the person from the top floor room for quite a while. This was a little unusual. We don't meet him every day in the mornings. But even if we don't see him in the mornings, in the evenings we get to meet him daily at the hangout room. It's a rare occasion when we are deprived of the fortune to meet him at least once a day. But what happened this time has something more to it. After discussing among ourselves, we realized it's not that we hadn't met him only today morning or the last night and the last morning, even the day before yesterday. Swayed by the craze of finding a match of the Bendu Borua, we had spent the whole evening watching a chess competition and missed the evening chat session. Okay, so it's 5 halves of the day and not 4, agreed. But even then, why should Ghanada leave the boarding house and just disappear? It's true that we haven't met him, but we haven't done anything wicked that would irk him either. We haven't paid him a visit this morning, but that too for arranging a gala dinner for him so that he becomes ecstatic. We have arranged all his favorite dishes for him, and on top of it, as the icing on the cake, we have prepared smoked hilsa, fresh, boneless fillets of hilsa from the Ganges cooked in rice smoke. We hired an old chef working for the #1 restaurant in the city to prepare this item. The after-meal mouth freshener should match the spread. Thus, we had gone to the pan shop to get some special flavored pan. So, all these arrangements are useless. Will all this just go in vain? But the most important thing is, Ghanada is missing. Why? Where has he gone? How was this radio announcement arranged? After returning to the boarding house and discussing this with Puja and Bunwari, we are still clueless. From them, we have got to know only this much. Even if we hadn't seen him for a while, he was here, in his top floor room, till today morning, completely fit and fine. But although he was here, he was a bit restless. Even Bunwari had noticed it. It looked like he was in a hurry. He didn't even finish his favorite French toast. He had only 1.5 of it, instead of 2, and left the tea unfinished. Bunwari noticed this negligence towards breakfast when we went there to collect the dishes. At that time, Ghanada was not there in the room. Bunwari hasn't seen him after that. Neither has Rambhuj or anyone else in this house. But after leaving in the morning, where did he go? And within a few hours, who informed the radio station that he was missing? Sitting in our hangout room, the more we discuss about this, the more we get confused. Finally, we decide to visit our newfound hope to take his advice in his Khidirpur residence. I think it doesn't need a mention that it is Parashar Burma who lives in Khidirpur, and we have decided to go to his place for his advice. Once, we had invited him by making some false excuses so that we could witness his encounter with Ghanada. We had thought we would get to observe some bright sparks of firecrackers when these two great personas meet and compete with each other. But, to our great disappointment, they gelled like a tandem. Now, their bond is so strong that even when a pin was missing in the boarding house, Ghanada sends us to Parashar Burma's place to find a solution to the mystery. So, we decide to go to Parashar Burma's house right now. But as we step on the staircase to go downstairs, we were stopped. Banamali informs that someone has come to meet Borobabu, meaning the occupant of the top floor room. So, what if someone has come to meet him? You can just go tell the visitor that he's not here, you idiot. The idiot sadly explains he has told this to the visitor, but that didn't work. The visitor didn't pay any attention to this and said, "It doesn't matter if he's not there, I'll wait for him." As Banamali describes this much, we see the guests under the staircase. The first person is a Kashmiri shawl seller and the second person is a carrier of the shawls. Why would a Kashmiri shawl seller come to visit Ghanada? After talking to him for a while, we get to know the reason. The name of the shawl seller is Rashid Khan. He is one of the latest fans of Ghanada. He comes to Kolkata every winter to sell shawls and scarves to the elites of the city. While along with his assistant, he was going to the house of one of his clients, he had made Ghanada on the way, and in that short meeting, he had been amazed and fascinated by Ghanada's extensive knowledge about the Kashmiri shawl business. Thus, now, he has come to show some of his best products as he believes no one but only an expert like Ghanada can value such shawls. Rashid Khan goes on to praise the expert who can spot the difference between the two types of pashminas. The first type are made from the wool from standard mountain sheep, and the second type are woven with the wool from a special kind of sheep that never comes below the altitude of 5,000 feet. Just for the sake of solving the mystery of Ghanada's disappearance, for now, we control our urge to hear this in detail, and we convince him to come back after a few days to see Ghanada and bid him goodbye. Rashid Khan is sad and disheartened, but before leaving, he leaves us an expensive scarf for Ghanada. He is quite insistent and refuses to pay heed to any of our objections. He doesn't even let us mention the price. We try to dissuade him and tell him it is way above our affordability, but he says we do not need to think about the price and that it is a matter of pride for him to gift it to the number one expert who has an eye to appreciate it. It takes us some time to see him off, and it is already quite late. We reach Parashar Burma's place at around 10 p.m. All the hesitations about disturbing him at this hour of the night go away as soon as we reach the house. Not only his front door is open, but he is busy discussing poetry with his friend Kirtibash Bhadro. Seeing us, Parashar welcomes us with a friendly enough smile. But he continues reading poems one after another, and it becomes difficult for us to hold our patience. But, for the sake of our own interest, we keep calm. In between his poetry readings, whenever we get a chance, we explain our situation as briefly as possible and patiently wait for his opinion. By now, we are convinced that it is futile to wait for him. We just wait here helplessly and think about when this poetic torture will get over. But, what a surprise! It seems we did not need to wait for too long, after all. He pauses in the middle of reciting a poem, looks at us and says something that totally baffles us. "How long will you wait?" Then he pauses for a while and says, Listen to this poem." What? Do we need to listen to a poem now? Our mouths fall open. "Yes, listen." Parashar continues with an indifferent face. "You can take notes if you want." "Yes, I think it's better to take notes." He tosses a pad and a pencil towards us and recites the following poem. "All the sides are full of riddles, but something that I know is, nothing happens without a reason. Reason and its results are always chained together. If I find only one hook of the chain, perhaps I can pull out the whole riddle." After reciting this much, he stops for a while. Then it seems, in a flash, he remembers something interesting and continues without a pause. "Does anyone know why something happens and how? If shawls and wraps make you uneasy, that can be cured with vegan foods. Whatever you do or whatever you think, always keep this in mind. Weaklings always settle in the den of its enemy and stays there. Even if you don't know who the enemy is, do not worry. Be assured the key to the mystery is just behind him. After finishing his poem, the way Parashar Burma again opens the notebook kept in front of him and turns towards his friend Kittibash, it is clear that he wants us to leave. In this situation, it is not possible to stay here any longer. Having no other choice, we leave the room dumbfounded. But what should we do now? Coming out of his house, we reach the bus stop and look at each other's faces with this question in our minds. What was the point of reciting these nonsensical poems to us? Gord expresses his annoyance with a bitter voice. We came here for some advice and he just jokes with us. Shishir fumes. As a tram comes by, all of us board the tram. The tram, going towards Esplanade, is almost empty at this time of the night. The same discussion keeps us busy while we are on the tram, sitting at the back of the tram. Should we consider his behavior as an insult, or did he just ridicule us? If it was his attempt to ridicule us, what right does he have? Are we a bunch of ignorant kids? Wait a second. Shibu is the only one who has retained his calm so far. He stops us and changes the track of our discussion with a serious face, saying, "Tell me, before reciting the riddle, while he was reading the poems to his friend Kittibash, he asked us a few questions, right?" "Yes, he did." Shishir is still fuming. "He asked us some stupid questions like whether Ghanada was annoyed with us or with anyone else in the boarding house. We informed him right then," Ghosh supports Shishir, "that nothing of that sort has happened. Yes, he was a bit annoyed about the opening of a new hotel in our locality, as he thought the standard of the locality will fall due to this hotel. But that annoyance or anger was in no way strong enough to motivate him leaving our company. Rather, lately he was visibly happy, and to support this, I also mentioned the Kashmiri shawl seller," Shishir says. "Had he not been joyful, would he ever talk to the shawl seller and mesmerize him with his knowledge about the shawl business?" We discuss this till the tram reaches Esplanade, but still can't find a solution. We fail to find the solution even after 5 days. It is needless to say that even after 5 days, Ghanada is still missing. We gather at our hangout room early in the morning to discuss our future course of action. Should we approach Parashar Burma once again without caring about our prestige? Or should we inform the police? Suddenly, something strikes Shibu. He almost drops the cup from his hand and then, somehow managing to retain his control, excitedly says, "Who has a riddle poem of Parashar Burma? Where is it?" It was with me. I had kept the note. As I bring out the paper from my pocket and hand it over to Shibu, I say in a flippant tone, "Does this poem contain the solution to the mystery or what?" "Maybe it does," he replies, leaving us totally surprised, and leaves the room, his face serious. He returns in the evening. This time, he not only surprises us, but we are also startled, speechless. He is not alone. Ghanada himself is with him. Yes, Ghanada has come back. But what's going on with him? He is not in his regular dhuti, shirt and albert shoe, the attire that marks Ghanoshyam Das. Instead, he is wearing a pair of yellow slippers. His dhuti Punjabi is white, but a saffron shawl is adorned around his shoulder, and he has put on a saffron Gandhi cap. Why is he wearing such clothes? Where was he all the time? The answer to this question is evident in Shibu's actions. First, he makes Ghanada sit in his very own easy chair with much care and love. Then, in a booming voice, he orders Rambhuj to bring food. The unending list includes numerous preparations of chicken, mutton, fish and egg. It seems the foods are for a tiger who has starved for a week or has eaten some leafy vegetables to save its life. But why is Ghanada starving? Where was he all this while? Why couldn't he find non-veg items there? Where else? He was at the hotel about which he had made that snide remark. The standard of this locality is dropping. He was staying in that newly built hotel, a holy lodge for young monks, both the locals and foreigners, mostly foreigners though. Forget about meat or fish. You won't even smell onions within half a kilometer radius of it. But why did he go there? If he wanted to leave, there are thousands of other places where he could go. Although we continue to pretend that we are discussing this among ourselves, to our surprise, the person to whom it was really intended replies, "I went there to avoid Rashid Khan. There are no other reasons." We didn't expect that Ghanada would slap our suspicion right on our face like this. Thus, we try to manage the situation as hard as possible, and with extreme embarrassment, we say, "What are you saying? Rashid Khan, that shawl seller, is a great fan of yours. We have seen it. Had he not been a true fan, would he ever leave such an expensive scarf for you? No, tell us, what is it? Why did you go there?" The last request doesn't go in vain. He makes it clear in his tone that he is already convinced. Hesitantly, he says, "So, as you are insistent, of course we are." Shishir offers a cigarette, lights it up and says, "You were missing for 5 long days. Then when we finally got to see you again, you were dressing like this. If you do not tell us where you were all this while, we will surely die of gastric ulcer." "No, that won't happen," Shibu adds. "You were staying in that newly built hotel, Holy Inn." "Seriously? Were you staying at Holy Inn? I mean that hippie hotel?" This time, our amazement is genuine and spontaneous. So are our questions. "Did you dress like this just to stay there? You survived 5 days among those hippie-type monks without having any non-veg food? But why?" "Why?" Ghanada picks up the last question and replies in a deep and grave voice. "Only for a box. A small box, which is 5 inches long and around 3 inches wide." "The box? What is inside that box? Diamonds?" "No." Seeing our stupid ignorance, Ghanada keeps his patience. "There's a tiny magnet tied to some fine strings. The strings are finer than our hair." Oh! Our disappointment is very much evident in our voice. "Yes." Ghanada acts like an embodiment of patience and slowly reveals. "You may say it's the only toy that can predict the danger we all are in, the danger that can destroy the entire human race. It doesn't need any energy to run, and even after 50, 60 or 100 years later, it can walk automatically under the temperature of minus 80 degrees Celsius. Do you know what it does?" We no longer need to pretend to be stupidly surprised because we are genuinely surprised. Ghanada gives us a quick glance. He looks happy and satisfied, and then he continues. "That toy box measures and calculates all the activities of the universe. The existence of the human beings depend on those activities. It is called a magnetometer. You can say it is kind of an electrocardiogram of the lifeline of the human race. But why is this device needed?" We are still and silent. Ghanada continues. "We are living in a dangerous condition on this earth. How many of us are aware of it? The earth is covered with a magnetosphere and an ionosphere. Like some mosquito nets, these are positioned from 80 km to 500 km heights above the ground. In the absence of these coverings, the animals like us would get destroyed, just like the dinosaurs got wiped off a few thousand years ago. Now, what you need to know is, why would they get destroyed? The sun is the lord of our solar system. It gives us life. It can bring our death too. You must have heard about the solar storm that regularly takes place inside the sun. These solar storms emanate streams of charged particles in an unimaginable speed, and those could destroy us if not resisted by the magnetosphere and ionosphere. You already knew about the ionosphere and the magnetosphere, but we didn't have the knowledge about how to map their state. The means of mapping their condition has been discovered in this toy box. You have probably never heard about Izmaron, have you? It is a Russian research center conducting researches on the ionosphere and magnetosphere. Some days back, the device invented by Izmaron has detected a dangerous occurring. It has shown that our magnetic poles are shifting due to some changes in the ionosphere. Thus, this toy box-like device, the magnetometer, is priceless to the scientists. A few days back, we got to know that this magnetometer has been stolen. You can imagine how the detectives of all the big countries and states are putting all their efforts to find out the thief and the stolen device. Luckily, I was the one who found him first. No doubt, the thief made an intelligent move. He didn't go to any 5-star or 7-star hotel in a big country. Disguised as a hippie monk and wearing saffron clothes, he took shelter in this vegetarian inn. He had planned, once the dust settles down, he will leave for his country. But now he can't. That means you caught him? We excitedly asked. So what have you done with him? Have you surrendered him to the police? Do I look like I'm crazy? Ghanada laughs at our innocent stupidity. I have got the chance to secretly keep an eye on an international criminal who is an expert in his field. I am not about to let it go by handing him over to the police. He is still in that inn, fit and fine. He is a bit baffled though. Have you recovered the device? Is it with you? We want to know excitedly. No, it's not with me. Ghanada again laughs at our stupidity. As soon as I got a chance, I broke it. You broke it? You broke that priceless wonder device? We are sad, speechless. So what? Ghanada is indifferent. Ismeron will make a similar device, even a finer one, within a few days. I broke it so that no one else gets hold of it. But we do not get a chance to ask the questions that were on our minds. The foods ordered by Shibu have started to come. Plate after plate of delicious non-vegetarian dishes are arriving. Now, it is impossible to reach out to Ghanada's ears, even with a loudspeaker. We ask Rambhut Singh to take care of Ghanada while he is eating all this, and I come out to the balcony along with Shibu and Shishir. As soon as we are in the balcony, I ask Shibu, so, you got all the clues in that poem of Parashar Burma? Yes, that's true, Shibu proudly explains. It is possible that Parashar Burma had made a mistake in his judgment, but he had mentioned, if shawls and wraps make you uneasy, that can be cured with vegan foods. And this was a clear indication towards that vegetarian inn. Then, he had said, the key to the mystery is chasing him. From that line, I figured Ghanada himself is dying to be found. It happened exactly like this. While I was passing by the holy inn, I met Ghanada at the outset. It seems he was waiting for me. Otherwise, he was happy and jolly, but after eating vegetarian food for 5 days in a row, he looked a bit weak.
Let us know how you like this story in the comment section. We created a Ghanada travelogue on Google Map covering all the places Ghanada visited all over the world. You will also see the routes he took to go from one place to another. Visit our website www.ghanada.com to know everything about Ghanada Club and its activities. Do not forget to subscribe this channel to get notification whenever we post a new story.